Hi, welcome to my review on cubic and higher roots. And as in previous units, the review is treated as a quiz, and this one can be marked at a 27. And as you can see, this is the first of 5 pages, 4 more to come. And what you do, you give yourself a score for each question and total up the bottom at the end of each page. Like the second page here is a total of 8. After you get it all done, you add up your total and you put it over 27 and you convert it to a decimal, and then you change it to percent by moving it 2 places to the right. Let's do the review on cubic and higher roots. Number 1, simplify the cube root of 27, and the cube root of 27 is a 3. Give yourself a mark. We have 3. Simplify cube root. Remember, we have to do PEMDAS, so we have to do the inside first. So we got to do underneath the root first. So we have a 7 plus square root of 4 is 2 minus 1. And that gives us 9 minus 1. That's the cube root of 8. And the cube root of 8 is 2. We get 2. Give yourself a mark. Number 3, we're adding the cube root, so the cube root of 125 is a 5. The cube root of 64 is a 4. And we're adding, you get a 9. Give yourself another mark. Now, the cube root of 72. We can't see what 72 is, but 72 is 2 into 72 goes 36 is even. 2 into 36 goes 18. 2 into 18 goes 9. And 3 into 9 goes 3. So it's 2 times 2 times 2. So we can say 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. And the cube root, you need 3 of them. So that's 3 2's. So that's 2 cube root. Only 2 3's, you can't take it out. So that's a 9. Another way to do that would be if you recognize that 72 has a perfect cube of 8, because it's even. 8 9's are 72, and the cube root of 8 is 2, and we can't do the cube root of 9 because there's only 2 3's. So you can break it down as I did like this in prime factorization, and for every 3 factors that are the same, you take 1, or you can do it this way. Give yourself a mark. And we have number 5, 3/5 times the cube root of 2000, so 3/5. And the cube root 2000 is 2 times 1,000, so that's 3/5. The cube root of 1,000 is 10, so that's 10 cube root 2, and the 10 is over 1. Because we're multiplying fractions, we cancel 5, and the 5 goes once, 5 and the 10 goes 2. So that gets 3 times 2 is 6 cube root 2. So if you have 6 cube root 2, give yourself a mark. Number 6, the cube root of x to the 12, and 12 divided by 3 gives you x to the 4th. You divide the radical, the root, into the power, and you get this one worked out perfect. There's none left over. Give yourself a mark if you have x to the 4th. Simplify the cube root of x to the 7b to the 20. So the cube root, so 7 divided by 3 is 2, and we have the cube root a, so 7 divided by 3 is 2, 1 left over. 20 divided by 3, 3 sixths are 18, and there's 2 left over. So if you have a squared b6, cube root of a b squared, you give yourself a mark. And number 8, we have to simplify it. This is a 4th root. So a 4th root, and it happens to be that the 4th root of 16 is a 2. Remember, 16 is 4 times 4 which is 2 times 2, 2 times 2. So we have 2 to the 4th, or we have 4 2's. So we have 2 to the 4th, 16. So the 4th root of 2 to the 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 9 divided by 4 is 2. And there's 1 left over, so that x stays inside. So the 4th root of 16 is a 2. And we divide the exponent on the inside by the root that's outside. And you notice I get a 2, and there's 1 left over. So if you have this answer, give yourself a mark. Total up the page is out of 8. Let's continue. Simplify. Simplify number 9 to 16. I forgot to put the 16 in here. Put it in now. Simplify. Notice we're adding and subtracting. In order to add and subtract cube roots, we have to have the same cube root of the same radicand. Cube root 7, cube root 7, cube root 7. So we can add to get 12 and subtract 9 to get 3. So it's 3 cube root 7. Give yourself a mark. And here notice we're subtracting and adding again, but this is the cube root of 2, this is the cube root of 2, but this is the cube root of 10. So this one is different, so we can't do anything with this one because there's no more there like it. So we write this one down. So -4 and -5 is the -9. And because these two are alike, we can subtract -4, subtract 9 is -9 cube root 2. But we can't combine this one because they're not like terms. Number 8 is 3 over 8. And we have 40. 40 is 8 times 5. 40 is 8 times 5. And 8 is a perfect cube. So that's 3 over 8. And the cube root of 8 is 2. Cube root 5. And we multiply. So 2 and the 2 goes once. 2 and 8 goes 4. So that gives 3/4 cube root 5. Give yourself a mark if you have it. And let's multiply these two. We got both cube roots. So when we multiply, when you multiply or divide, they have to be the same roots. For now, that's only in this section. Later on, when we do fractional exponents, we'll be able to multiply those, but not right now. That will be done in the next set of videos on fractional exponents. So we multiply, we get the cube root of 21. Notice 7 is prime, 3 is prime, so that's the final answer. Give yourself a mark if you have the cube root of 21. And right now I have the cube root. Now I can multiply this and get a 54. Let's do it 2 ways. 6 9s are 54. Okay, and the perfect cube as in 54 is 27. 27 times 2 is 54. So the cube root of 27 is 3. We get 3 root 2. And there's one way. Another way to do it would be this way. Cube root 9 is 3 times 3. 6 is 3 times 2. So that's the cube root of 3 times 3 times 3 times 2. And cube root, you need 3 of them. 3 of the same factors. So the cube root of 3 times 3 times 3 is 3 cube root 2. So there's 2 ways to do it. Give yourself a mark if you have the answer. And we're multiplying these two. So let's see, we have to multiply. Now, if you multiply this, you're going to get a big number. So let's multiply 2 by the -4 to get a -8. And this is, I got a 5th root here. This is meant to be a cube root. My mistake, that's a cube root right there. Sorry about that. That's meant to be a cube root. My mistake. So we multiply, we get a cube root. Now, rather than multiply the 25, I'm going to put it here. But if I multiply it out, I get a big number. So it's better to go 25 is 5 times 5. 15 is 5 times 3. And that's negative 8. And that's the cube root. We got 3 5s here. So that's 5 cube root 3. And when you multiply, you get a negative 40 cube root 3. Sorry about that. I looked it over, but sometimes when you're looking at problems that you make out, you don't see the little mistakes. That's meant to be a cube root, not a fifth root, because we wouldn't be able to handle it right now until we did a fractional exponents. So that should be a 3. So give yourself a mark if you have negative 40 cube root 3. And again, now notice I have cube roots here, so you can see that was a mistake. We're going to multiply these. They're both cube roots, so we multiply. When we multiply, we add the exponents. 7 plus 5 is 12. 2 plus 6 is 8. Cube root, so 12 divided by 3 is 4. None left over. 8 divided by 3 is 2. And 2 left over. So if you have that, a to the fourth b squared, cube root of b squared, give yourself a mark. 16, we have a radical in the denominator, so we'll multiply by, and 4 is, we need a perfect cube on the bottom, so we have a 4, so we multiply by the cube root of 2. We have to do top and bottom, so that's the cube root of 2, 1 times the cube root of 2 is the cube root of 2, and that's the cube root of 4 times 2 is 8, that's a perfect cube, and as a result, the cube root of 8 is 2, and we simplify, or we could have 1/2 cube root 2, but you cannot cancel 2 into this root, can't do it, and add up your score out of 8. Except for the error that I made. Sorry about that. Simplify. Let's keep going. Remember, the questions on the review quiz is in the order of the videos. Number 17. We got to do the cube root of 5. So we're not allowed to have a radical in the bottom. So to remove it, to rationalize it, that's a 5. I need a 5 squared, or I need a 25. And we put it top and bottom. Why do I need, that's a 5, I need 25, because that gives me the cube root of 125. And that gives me 20 cube root 25. And that's 20 cube root 25. The cube root of 125 is 5, and 5 goes into 24 times, so that's 4 cube root 25. So you need a perfect cube on the bottom in order to rationalize it. So notice that's a 25. That's 1 5, so 25 is 5 squared. That makes it 3 5s altogether, so the cube root of 125 becomes 5. And it simplifies. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Perfect. Give yourself a mark. And we're not allowed to have a radical in the denominator. We've got to rationalize it. We have a cube root. We have x squared. We need x cubed, so we multiply it by x. When we multiply it by x, we get the cube root of x all over the cube root of x cubed. Remember, when you multiply exponents, x squared times x, the 1 plus 2 is 3, and that's the cube root of x divided by the cube root of x cubed is x. And we can say or, that's a 1 there, we can go 1 over x, cube root of x, but you cannot cancel this x into this root. Give yourself a mark if you're right. And again, we have a radical in the denominator, so cube root. Now we need so that the radical will disappear or be removed. So we need a power of x, which is a multiple of 3. So we have a 7, so 2 more will give me a 9, which is perfect, because the 9 will divide by 3. So it's cube root of x squared over cube root of x squared. That gives me 8x power cube root of x squared over, that's the cube root of x to the 9. That's x to the 8th power cube root of x squared. And 9 divided by 3 is x cubed. And the x to the 8th and x cubed, they're the same basis, so we can subtract the exponents. When you divide, you subtract. 8 subtract 3 is 5. So there's the final answer. And if you have this step right here, as far as here, you give yourself a mark. If you simplify it, you give yourself a mark. 2 marks altogether. And we have this one to do. Now, we notice we got a multiplication, and subtraction. So what we have to do is PEMDAS, PEMDAS, or bedmass. We can't, there's no brackets to do. There's no exponents on the numbers. We have to multiply before we subtract. No division here. So let's multiply. 5 times 1 is 5. Cube root 16 minus cube root 6 nines are 54. So that's 8. 16 is 8 times 2. So that gives us the cube root of 8 is 2. Cube root 2. And the cube root of 54 is 27 times 2. So that becomes 3 cube root 2. So we have each of these simplified, done. Now we still have to multiply these, so that's 10 cube root 2. Subtract 3 cube root 2. And they're the same roots, cube root of 2. So we go cube root 2. So 10 subtract 3 is 7. And if you multiply these, you get a mark. If you simplify them to here, you get a mark each. And if you did that, final answer, you get 4 marks in total. And add them up, it's out of 8. And we have one more to do on this review. So we have, again, PEMDAS, PEMDAS, or BED, BEDMAS. Some people use PEMDAS, some people use BEDMAS. That's what I use. I use BEDMAS. Now we have to, there's no parentheses, there's no exponents except the roots, but no powers of the 2s and 9s and 12s and 4s. So we have to divide, then multiply, and then we add. So let's simplify this one. So we're going to multiply this one. That's 3 squared, so we need the cube root of 3, top and bottom. And so that gives us, that's the cube root of 9 times the cube root of 3. That gives us the cube root of 27. And on top, we have the cube root. They're cube roots, so we're able to multiply the cube roots. 2 times 3 gives me 6. And these are cube roots, so we get the cube root of 12 times 4 is 48. And so the cube root of 6 can't be simplified. The cube root of 27 is 3. And we have the cube root of 48 is 8 times 6. 6 8s are 48. So that becomes the cube root of 8 is 2. Cube root 6. Notice that both of them have the same cube roots, so we're able to add these. Common denominator is 3. So this one is okay. We need a 3 for this one. This 1 into 3 goes 3. 2, 3, 6. 6 over 3 is the same as 2. We now have, that's a 1. Understood. And we add, common denominator is 3. 1 plus 6 is 7. Cube root 6. So, if you simplified to here, you got a mark. If you simplified to here, you got a mark. And if you added these correctly with the fractions, you got your mark. 3 marks altogether. And put the mark on the bottom. And when you total it all up, it is review. You go back, add up the bottom of each page, put your mark over 27, divide 27 into the numerator, change it to a decimal, and move your decimal 2 places to the right to get your percentage. And hopefully you understand how to work the cube roots and higher roots. And that brings us to the end of this unit. I hope you liked this video, and I hope you liked the unit. I hope you learned what was intended with the videos. So click on the like button if you do. Click on the subscribe button. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. And that's the content that's on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.